This week on Full Circle Florida, war, peace, and the power of compromise. The Trump brokered peace deal that is now rewriting history in the Middle East. But can the president turn that global victory into domestic gold? Republicans and Democrats and the government shutdown. Political strategist Dan Snell is here with new insight. Meanwhile, the shutdown holding back Florida's housing market, flood insurance delays, stalling closings, leaving homeowners in limbo. We've got a real estate expert here breaking down the ripple effect. And my deep dive this week, the founder of Gray Bull Rescue, straight from the ground in Israel, from Tampa to Tel Aviv, saving Americans caught in the crossfire. And now with the hostages freed and a fragile peace deal in place, the question, will it hold? His frontline take, a must-hear. Welcome in here to Full Circle Florida. President Trump's peace deal in the Middle East, no doubt a huge win. The hostages are now back home. But here in America, we're stuck in a shutdown mess. No paychecks, jobs on the line, and health care premiums could double if Republicans and Dems can't get it together. So can President Trump's deal-making mojo fix this? Here's political analyst Dan Snell. Dan, the Trump administration just brokered this historic Gaza ceasefire with the release of all living 20 Israeli hostages now back home. We saw the tearful, emotional reunions. It was hailed by leaders from Netanyahu to Macron as a triumph of peace through strength. How much credit does President Trump deserve for this kind of diplomacy?
Well, I think President Trump absolutely should take credit because he was the strong voice and the steady voice that worked with both sides, both Israel and Hamas. And he was strong when he needed to be, and he was reaching out with open hands to say, how can we work together? So he put together the 20-point plan. I think he should take credit. I think that puts him on a roll. I think the whole wide world now looks at President Trump a little bit different. Now, they might not always like everything about him, but they have to respect that since biblical times, this battle and this disagreement has been going on, and he's helped bring it to where it's at today.
And former Florida Senator and current Secretary of State Marco Rubio also playing a pivotal role in all of this. As we pivot next here to this domestic shutdown crisis. So while the administration is celebrating this foreign policy victory abroad, at home, the government shutdown, it dragged into its third week this week. You had layoffs hitting federal workers, Democrats demanding extensions of these ACA subsidies. I don't think a lot of people realize that their health premiums, health insurance costs could double if they don't figure this out. And now you've got the holidays approaching and everyday Americans' livelihoods on the line, essentially as political pawns in this disagreement. So can the White House, can President Trump himself pivot from the Middle East diplomacy that we saw so effectively to now brokering some kind of domestic deal that gets Republicans and Democrats back to the table? Because peace in the Middle East is great, but let's be honest, politics is a what have you done for me lately kind of business, and you might have a lot of Americans say, that's great overseas, but what about us here at home?
Most Americans care about their 70 by 120-foot lot that their house sits on. They care about their neighbors a little bit, but they do care about their pocketbook. If I were President Trump, after that tremendous success in the Middle East, I would use that as momentum. And obviously, and it's been said before, if you can do that with a battle of biblical proportion, why can't we do that when it comes to the budget and the shutdown? And I think that both sides need to stop finger pointing, and both sides need to get around a table, and they need to say, we're not going to leave this room until we come to some form of an agreement. Compromise is not a four-letter word. Compromise is not bad. We've gotten in America where we think you cannot compromise. There are some things that perhaps that can be, both sides can say, okay, we'll move a little bit on this, especially on the healthcare.gov, the Obamacare subsidies. I think that's one thing that 73%, I saw a recent poll, 73% say that they believe that should stay because a lot of people are affected by that. I personally know people affected by that. And then the other things the Democrats can say, okay, we can wait. We were successful in the Middle East. We can be successful in Washington, D.C.
Right. Why not? I got about 30 seconds left. He's taken a tough road on China. He posed that 100% tariff on Chinese goods because China is now cracking down on their rare earth minerals, which is vital for the AI economy. So unless they back down, President Trump is ratcheting that up. How can the president secure U.S. access to these resources without Americans being the pain sponge for this economic trade war?
Yeah, I think this is the new Cold War with China with regards to the economic tariffs and sanctions and what China did. That will impact our economy. And President Trump seems to often be able to sit down with China and bring it together. So let's just hope that he can, because we're going into Christmas, we're going into Thanksgiving, sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and there'll be a lot of conversations across America, good and bad, if we don't bring some of these things to resolution. So with the same warp speed he's done other things, I hope he does that.
All right.
Shut down in these economies.
Absolutely. Dan Snell with the win some way. We'll get through some way. We always appreciate your insight, sir. Thank you. Next on Full Circle Florida, the government shutdown is hitting home literally. Flood insurance delays stalling Florida's housing market. What is the fallout? I'll speak with real estate expert Vincent Arcuri next. Welcome back to Full Circle Florida. The government shutdown slamming Florida's housing market. Flood insurance delays, freezing deals, buyers in limbo. Even if it all ends tomorrow, the ripple effect could last months. Joining me next here is Tampa real estate pro Vincent Arcuri with 30 years of steering through storms like this. The government shutdown, how is that impacting the housing market as we stand here today?
Well, anytime it impacts insurance, and, when you're looking at the National Flood Insurance Program, the NFIP, which is run by FEMA, it's government, and then you've got the IRS involved to verify people's employment status, so the lenders need that. And there's a multitude of things, FHA, VA, USDA loans, all that's tied to the government. So when there's a shutdown, those people get furloughed, they're at home they're not working. So what it does, it creates a bottleneck. It's delaying real estate closings.
Well, let's say you're not in government. You don't work for government, you have nothing to do with government. Does it still impact you? The government shutdown?
Well, it does if you're buying a home, because the insurance, once again, you have to have flood insurance. And in Florida, we're here surrounded by water. So it definitely impacts us more than it does somebody, say, in Iowa, because people require the flood insurance. And a lot of the, here with Citizens is like the last resort, because it's difficult to get flood insurance in Florida. And that definitely is something that the government steps in on.
So if the shutdown had lasted a day, 2 days, 3 days, probably not a big deal, but we're going into our third week here and we still don't know when this is going to end. I mean, it could end at any moment. Now it takes on a whole new kind of look.
Absolutely. And when you look at, real estate is, 20% of our GDP. So, when these closings are delayed, now the people aren't buying the goods at Home Depot and they're not renovating, and the contractors are delayed as well. So everybody's just kind of standing around waiting on these closings to happen so they could work. So the longer it takes, the more impact it's definitely going to have on our economy.
What is the current state of the real estate market right now in the Tampa Bay region and in Florida? Is it better than it was a year ago? I know we were going through a bit of a reality check there for a while.
Well, we really got socked in the face pretty hard after the 2 hurricanes back to back, right about a year ago.
Yeah.
And we're just starting to see a rebound from that, where you're seeing these areas like Dana Shores where they're rebuilding it. And it's really, I think, going to have a strong rebound in those areas. But then you see something like this, it's like, here we go, here's another delay. It doesn't seem like Florida gets away from it.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like we take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. One thing that I think is giving it a little bit of juice was the interest rates. It looks like they're going to cut them and continue to cut them. How does that compare with the government shutdown, or does it cancel each other out in terms of momentum right now?
Well, the interest rates really don't have anything to do with the government shutdown per se. I think what it does, if the opposite, is it creates more closings and more people jumping into the real estate market. And now you've got the government shutdown where those people are either experiencing delays or they can't close.
I feel like the housing market in Florida is kind of like the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks are doing great. They're good on paper, and yet they're injured, and we could be even better. But the housing market could be even better. But you've got these forces sort of working. It seems like we're swimming upstream when we shouldn't have to. I mean, this is a kind of a politically created crisis. It doesn't have to happen.
Good analogy with the Bucks. If we're like Baker Mayfield, you know, we've got the moxie, the mojo. So we're here in a great. One thing I've learned 34 years of doing this is that the Florida market always bounces back, and it's always a good investment. And no matter what obstacles are put in front of us, we always seem to make a comeback and then take it to another level.
What do you tell buyers right now? If you're a buyer, you probably are a little bit nervous because of the uncertainty. So what do you tell a buyer, regardless of how much the home is at this moment right now?
Well, I tell them to be patient, because real estate is always one of the best investments that you can make. And, you know, a lot of patience and transparency. I tell the buyers to make sure you communicate with your real estate agent, title, and mortgage so that you understand why this delay is taking place. Because I think a lot of times they blame it on somebody that's involved with the transaction. Sometimes it is, but in this particular case, it is the government. So I tell the buyer, just be patient, and this is going to pass.
And what do you tell a seller? I mean,
Same.
does a seller say, you know what, I'm just going to wait a couple of months and see how this plays out, or do you tell them to go forward with their plans?
Well, I typically, based on past history on how long these shutdowns have lasted, I tell everybody to keep moving forward. And my guesstimate's going to be, it's just going to be a couple of weeks, and we're going to be back to business as usual. And then we'll have that short window wherever the bottleneck will cut loose when everybody goes back to work, and we'll forget this even happened in 6 months.
Whether it's a real storm or a political storm, we'll make it through.
You know it.
The sun will shine again. Vincent Curry, appreciate it.
Thanks
as always.
for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next on Full Circle Florida, from Tampa to Tel Aviv, veteran-led Gray Bull rescues saved thousands of Americans amid Israel's war. And now, with the peace holding by a thread, founder Brian Stern joins me from the ground. From the front lines of a war-torn Middle East, one man's mission, bringing Americans home safe. Gray Bull Rescue has evacuated thousands amid the chaos. And now, with the peace deal in the Middle East inked, founder Brian Stern joins me from Israel. So you are there in Tel Aviv right now. What is it like there?
It's weird, to be frank. I've been coming here for 737, it seems like 737 days. It's always been a very somber place, very angry place, a very unhappy place, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration, a lot of why me, a lot of why them, a lot of just weight, a lot of weight has always been here. And today, it's a lot of relief. And it's a different place. It feels like a wedding meets Mardi Gras kind of a deal, because this is finally over. The nightmare is finally over.
As you're there and you're gathering the senses of people, obvious relief and gratefulness, and just this feeling of, I have my loved one, back in my life, in my arms. In the days and weeks ahead, as the talks get underway about what happens next, what have you been able to gather what that may feel like?
So, what does the road ahead look like? Complicated, very complicated, extremely fragile. It can fall apart at any moment. Lots of things still need to be figured out. Now, I'll put it in perspective for you. In New York, after 9/11, it took about 9 years to fully clean up Ground Zero, to fully be done with Ground Zero, and consider that cleanup completed, with all the human remains removed and identified, all the rubble and all the toxic chemicals and all the bad things, and the air quality and removal and all the things that had to happen. Well, Gaza looks like that. So, and it's a lot bigger. It's 22 miles by 7 miles. So it's a much bigger piece of real estate. The demolition, if you will, the bringing in bulldozers and stuff for reconstruction, that all needs to get worked out. What happens when a dump truck operator gets sniped by some 16-year-old, kid who's not Hamas, but Hamas gets blamed for it? What happens? What's the response? What's an appropriate response? How do you deal with that? And that's really the thing that's making me very concerned, is the leadership of all these different groups and all these different entities, from President Trump all the way down to whoever. They can all agree to whatever they want. It's the people on the street that have to keep the peace.
Even a sense of, okay, now we all have sort of a collective mutual interest in rebuilding Gaza, and maybe there's a path forward here that's an opportunity for everyone.
I think that the Israelis are practical, and that 738 days ago, Syria was run by Bashar Assad, aligned with Iran. Iran's military and missiles were active and prolific. Hezbollah was a global enterprise. Hamas was operating with impunity, clearly, because they went through October 7th, and all these other things. Today, the world is fundamentally different. Fundamentally different. Today, Syria is allied with the West. Today, Hezbollah is um, severely degraded. Today, Hamas is not non-existent, but certainly, overwhelmingly combat ineffective. Today, though, yesterday, the bad guys had leverage in the form of hostages. Today, they do not. So, I think, what is the sentiment? The sentiment is the leverage that they had, which is the hostages, is no more.
I know that Gray Bull has been making the Tampa Bay region proud and Florida proud. How do you see your role in the days, weeks, months ahead as this new era begins?
Great question. We, Gray Bull Rescue, my team and I have been active in this conflict since the very first day. As soon as October 7th happened, we packed our stuff in Tampa. My team and I deployed right away. And we've been here in this region, one way or the other, for 737 long days, over 2 years. Operating in Libya, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Cyprus, in Egypt, here in Israel. We've taken missile fire. We've taken iron. I've been here. I've had so much Iron Dome go over my head. I don't, it doesn't even excite me anymore. The idea that this chapter is closed, at least for now, I'm really excited to focus on other things, because we are a global nonprofit. We have things going on in Europe and Latin America and Asia and parts of Africa sometimes. To see that the hostage piece of this conflict is finally closed is remarkable. Every single ops meeting we have had in the last 737 days, these hostages have come up in those meetings. Every single one. Every single one. The idea that we can finally take that off our list of problems that we're trying to solve is just a great day for everybody. It's a great day for everybody.
Well, it's great to hear you say those words, and you deserve to have a drink of your choice and smoke a cigar and enjoy the moment of all these weeks and months of hard work. And I know your mission continues. Is there anything you'd like to say back here to the people of Tampa and how they can help you?
The big thing is we rescue thousands of Americans, many from Florida, many, and we are entirely donor funded. Entirely donor funded. We have not received a penny from the government, from any government whatsoever. And it does not happen. These lives would have been lost, but for our generous donors who stand with us. And most of those are people who are watching most of our donors are people who are watching your show. GrayBullRescue.org is where you can go to donate, and also follow us on social media. Social media is extremely important when Americans are in trouble and they try and get help. Social media is usually how they find us. It's usually how they get connected to us. It doesn't cost a penny. You can choose to help us out. I don't care about emojis and thumbs ups and all that stuff. But please follow us and please share. About 82% of 8,000 lives that we saved in the last 4 years started with social media. So it really is important. When you're calling Gray Bull Rescue, we are who you call after you've called everybody else. We are the last resort. We are never the first option. We're who you call after the State Department, after your senators, and after your congressmen, and after the FBI, and after the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. We are who you call. The way you find us almost always is through social media. It does not cost anyone a penny to help us out in that regard. If you do have pennies, please go to GrayBullRescue.org. There's a big red button that says donate. Click the button, do what you can. It all goes to a good place.
Brian Stern from Gray Bull Rescue from Tampa to Tel Aviv. You are doing God's work, my friend. Get home safely. And from everyone here in Tampa, a heartfelt thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Full Circle Florida continues right after this. Thanks for watching us here on Full Circle Florida. We hope you'll join us again next week. Make sure to add our free 24/7 streaming news channel, Tampa Bay 28+. There you'll find all the in-depth reports on the stories that matter to you. Have a great week, everyone.